Hey guys, what's up? This is a really good movie. This is Serpent and the Rainbow. And it's a weird title, Serpent and the Rainbow, but it's a really good movie. And it's Wes Craven, so it's really scary AF, right? But the thing is about this movie, it's not just scary. It's not like a scary movie. It's got a horror. It's got a lot of horror in it. Like it's got horror elements that make it a horror movie. But it's not actually like a frightening, scary movie. Like the Sixth Sense where ghosts are like, it's not like Poltergeist where it's like a really scary, like there's poltergeists in the house and there's ghosts and whatever, and they're like basically doing all this stuff. And it's not like The Shining, which is like really scary and stuff because the guy like kind of like goes nuts in the house and whatever, and there's like The Shining and all that stuff, and then goes after his wife and whatever. It's just creepy and scary like that. This one is not like scary in the same way. Like it's not gonna scare you, but it's got a lot of very creepy. It's definitely Wes Craven, and it's definitely got horror movie elements in it, to the point where it's a thriller. Like it's a sort of like a thriller, but it's got like sort of disturbing horror elements in it because it talks about all kinds of like horror related topics and subject matter. So it's about basically this guy who's the main character, Bill Pullman, apparently from the that's his name. I kind of recognized the face of the character, but I didn't recognize the name right away. But basically, this guy, he's a scientist, and he's talking to a bunch of other scientists, and they're talking about this thing that they have in Haiti where it's like a zombie powder where they create zombies. They make people into zombies. But they're using the zombie powder because they have found that the zombie powder was able to bring people back from the dead. And so they're curious. They're like, well, what is this like zombie powder? We have to know more about this because it's only used by voodoo priests in Haiti. And the voodoo priests are like, they're secretive, and they got their secrets, and they don't want to tell anybody, how they make the zombie powder, and they don't want to give it to anybody. They're doing it to make zombies because they're voodoo priests. And so the only thing he can do to retrieve this powder, which has the potential of bringing people back from the dead, and they're like, that's interesting, maybe that can actually work, to do that with people. And so their intention is to, find out what this powder is, and does it really work, right? And so he ends up going to Haiti. He flies to Haiti, and he wants to go into the world of voodoo and the voodoo priests and all of the voodoo going on in Haiti, in order to talk to them about the zombie drug or the zombie powder or something like that that they use to create zombies, to make people into zombies. And so it's basically this powder, and he finds that it's this thing, and they kind of like blow it on people, and it makes them, it kind of like does something to them, and it creates, it turns them into a zombie basically. And it's really graphic about how they do it, and it's creepy, but I want to let you guys, if you haven't seen this movie yet, to see it, because it's something really it's the reason you want to see this movie is to watch the whole adventure happening. And so he goes in there, and he's trying to like infiltrate this world of voodoo priests and zombies. And basically the voodoo priests, the people in Haiti don't want him there. The government in Haiti is like, at the time, it's some kind of militant government. They're taking over the whole place, and they're just like an oppressive militant government, and he gets in trouble with them because he's a foreigner and he's not supposed to be there. And he's asking all these questions to all these other people, and they're like, they don't want him there. They're like, you got to get out of Haiti, and because they start threatening him and stuff like, no, get out of Haiti, take the next plane out. We don't want you here, right? But he's like, doesn't listen because he's on this sort of on this mission to get this powder back. So he's trying to like get to these voodoo priests and strike up a deal with them. Say, what should I give you? Do you want money? Do you want what do you want? I'll just give me some of the powder, and that's all I want, and I'll change it. I'll give you money. I'll give you whatever it is. He ends up like giving them his watch, because it was valuable. And so he actually like goes to Haiti and finds real zombies okay, or people that could like convincingly pass as zombies, and these voodoo priests who sort of like apparently control them. And these priests are creepy, and they've got these little jars all over, like in their house. And apparently, what the priest says that is in the jars is the souls of the zombie, sort of like encased in a jar. And one of the reasons that it's called Serpent and the Rainbow is because of all of the traditions and all of the shamanistic practices that are inside this movie. Like, for example, the main character finds his spirit animal in the movie, and his spirit animal is one of the most relevant things in the movie, because the movie goes from realistic to fantasy to like total supernatural. And it's hard to find, and it's hard to see like where in the movie the realism goes away and the supernatural starts. You don't know if the voodoo priests actually make zombies, or do they actually use this powder to put other people into a state where they're in a zombie-like state and are able to be controlled. There are these powders or chemicals or whatever that have been known to affect people in a certain way, where they're not like really like present or conscious, but they're able to be very, very easily controlled. And according to the stories, that they like someone that knows what they're doing can, you know, basically suggest they do something, and they'll just obey and do it and not realize they're doing it and not remember doing it, you know. And so they don't like, so he doesn't know whether the zombie powder is really a zombie powder, or is it a bunch of trickery, and, you know, is it a bunch of just like, you know, like dime store tricks, and they try to convince people that there's some kind of voodoo priest and they can make zombies, and they have like armies of zombies that will come after them if they don't like what you did or whatever that is. And so he goes into like, so he's in Haiti, and so basically like these it's weird, because like in order to make the zombie, basically these priests are there, and they kind of know the secrets, and they kind of know how to do this, and they kind of know how to make these zombies. And so like he goes into this world where he's trying to infiltrate, and he's trying to get this actual powder, and he really can't. And, you know, like nobody wants to give it to him. Like it's a secret, and it's hard to know like how much of like the movie, like it's hard to know how much of the movie is real and based on real practices of voodoo and voodoo priests in Haiti, or how much of it is fantasy and it's made up. You know, is this real? Like, because he goes to Haiti and he infiltrates the world of voodoo and voodoo priests and zombies, but, you know, is that really what's going on in Haiti? I was like, is this what's going on in voodoo, or is this just a good idea that they thought up to make a movie about something that, you know, might be not accurately portrayed? So you don't really know. Like they try to talk about this whole zombie voodoo, community in Haiti of all these voodoo priests, and there's like people dancing and, you know, sacrificing animals and dancing and like sacrificing chickens or whatever it is, and like dancing, and they're in a trance and whatever. And basically these priests go after him, and they try to blow the like zombie powder onto him, because if you like breathe in the zombie powder, you know, it's like you breathe in the zombie powder, and then the next thing you know, you turn into a zombie, you know. And so they're trying to get rid of him, and he's trying to find these voodoo priests and get the powder. The thing about these priests is they're super evil, and they don't care. They will like blow some powder on you and turn you into a zombie, and you will basically be under the spell of the priest, and you will have to do whatever the priest says. So if the priest says do this, you would have to do it, and you wouldn't even know you're doing it, because you're, you know, once they turn you into a zombie, the zombies are like, they're not conscious anymore. They're very, very like, they don't know, like they're zombies basically. They're not like alive and aware, or to what degree. So what's interesting about the story is like, you don't know how much of it is real. Like, are there really zombies? Is there really a zombie powder in Haiti? And is there voodoo priests in Haiti? And I know there's voodoo because there's voodoo in Haiti. There's voodoo in New Orleans. That's definitely true. Voodoo is an old religion and, you know, witchcraft sort of like practice that's is still practiced now, and it's been practiced for I don't know how long or when it started, but it's a practice. You can't, it's very secretive. You have to be initiated into it. You can't just walk in and ask questions about it because they won't tell you. And you know that, I know that you have to be initiated into voodoo because of the movie Angel Heart, where he tried to infiltrate voodoo in New Orleans, and they didn't want to talk to him. They wanted to get rid of him because it's none of his business what's happening in the voodoo community in New Orleans. And that's kind of like how they treat the main character of the story. They're super evil, and also they don't want to give out their secrets. They don't want to tell him what's in zombie powder. They don't want them to look at the zombie powder and figure out what chemicals are in there. It's a secret. It's a shamanic secret, and there's also a positive aspect of this movie where the main character finds his spirit animal, and he finds a lot of who he is spiritually also in this movie, because there's positive shamans too, and there's also the positive shamans are trying to help him figure out, you know, who his spirit animal is, and what animal is in his soul, and it's just a lot of this positive stuff. So that's why it's like the serpent and the rainbow. It's sort of like you've got the evil voodoo priests, and you've got the good shamans that are trying to help him in the story, and you've got the evil voodoo priests that are trying to kill him in the story. So I'm just gonna like, the front of it is scary. I'm just gonna like read the back of it. It's just, yeah, I don't even want to show the pictures because this is freaking scary. I'll just read the back of it so you know a better idea what's on the back of the DVD. Wes Craven, of course. All I gotta say is Wes Craven, and you already know that it's a horror movie, basically. It doesn't say horror, but I'm gonna say it's a scary thriller that is, at parts of it, it's disturbing. But overall, it's a great movie. Well made, well acted, well written. It's not your average, it's not like horror movie, but written and acted like, you know, Friday the 13th or Halloween or one of those cheesy, you know, horror movies. It's like, no, this is a real good movie. It's just that it's a horror movie, and it's just that it's scary, and it's got like scary, disturbing elements inside the movie. But the movie-wise, it's fantastic. This is definitely one of the best movies, I would say, at the time. I think this came out in the 80s, because I don't remember like watching it. I think I watched it in the later 80s. I think it might have been on HBO or some kind of cable that somebody had, because I think I watched it over someone else's house with friends, and we all saw it, and everybody was amazed by it. It was like, wow. It's a great movie, but it's not as much scary as it is a good movie. But it's not as much scary as it is like disturbing, because you remember the scenes in the movie, and they're so well acted and so well written that they're just creepy. They're just, you don't want to think it. You want to kind of like, it's things in this movie that you cannot unsee, you know, basically. So I'll just read what's on the back of this so you get a better idea of what's on the back of the DVD, or on this DVD that I got. I don't remember when I got this, in I don't know, sometime in the 2000s or whatever. But anyway, Wes Craven, The People Under the Stairs, and Shocker, which I've never watched either of those. I'm not a big like horror fan, like I'm not a big Wes Craven fan, but because it's a good movie, it's well made and everything, you know, it can get a pass. And if it's a good movie, it's a good movie. The Shining might not have been, you know, it was a horror movie, so it's not everyone's cup of movie, right? But because it's such a good movie with Jack Nicholson and that other one, the woman, I forgot her name, Jack Nicholson, and you know all of the characters, the way it's written, and I think it's Stephen King, right? Yeah, it's Stephen King. It's well written, it's well acted, it's a great movie. Because it's so good, you'll watch it even if you're not into horror movies and still enjoy it. And that's what it is with this. You'll enjoy this movie even if you're not into horror movies. If you can tolerate it if you can tolerate a horror movie, you're gonna have a good time because it's really good. So Wes Craven, People Under Stairs and Shocker, directs this terrifying story of one man's nightmarish journey into the eerie and deadly world of voodoo. Yeah, well, I wouldn't say, it's pretty nightmarish. He goes through a lot of stuff in this movie, but it's like he's trying to do it for the good of mankind. He's trying to like find this powder that's supposed to like bring people like back from the dead or whatever it is, and use it to, you know, help people. I don't know, like they're gonna try to like make something positive for humanity from it, but this powder is actually the thing that evil priests use to turn people into zombies at the same time. So it's kind of like the scientists don't really have it all figured out, you know, as much as the occultists do in the movie. And it's a lot of how much of this that's going on is science, and how much of it is the occult, and how much of it is magic, witchcraft, and you know, mystery and whatever. A Harvard anthropologist, Bill Pullman. I recognized Bill Pullman's face. I just never knew the guy's name was Bill Pullman. So that name is new to me. A Harvard anthropologist, Bill Pullman, is sent to Haiti to retrieve a strange powder that is said to have the power to bring human beings back from the dead. And this is why the scientist community that he's part of is interested in this powder, because it supposedly could bring people back from the dead. But the reality of the powder is it's what turns people into zombies. And they don't know that because they're not in Haiti and they're not like part of the voodoo community and stuff like that. In his quest to find the miracle drug, the cynical scientist enters a rarely seen netherworld of walking zombies and ancient curses. So basically that's what he finds. You know, the priests, they don't want him around. They don't want him asking questions. They're threatening him. They're like, we will curse you. We will take your soul, we will turn you into a zombie. You know, they're basically threatening him with this like supernatural wrath of what they will do to him as voodoo priests if he doesn't get out of Haiti and get out of there. So the priests are after him. The government in Haiti doesn't want him there because he's sort of a threat to them. So he's always in trouble. Like, he's always in trouble, and he's trying to make it through. He's trying to get this powder. He's trying to go back, but he goes through this adventure, this whole story that's going on. I'm not gonna like get into details because it's so worth watching that I don't want to like spoil anything. Based on the true life experiences of Wade Davis. Okay, this supposedly is based on true life experiences, which make this movie super more creepy than it was, because like thinking this movie is fiction is the only thing you know, like kind of saving you from thinking shit. Like thinking this movie is based on some kind of someone's experiences and their story of what they experienced on their adventure where they went in Haiti, that would have been creepy. That's creepy. So you don't know how much of this is like, again, you don't know how much of this is actual voodoo practices and really going on, and you don't know how much of this is made up. And when you watch this movie, like, you feel like, okay, the more made up this movie feels, the better. But because on the back of the thing it says based on the true life experience of Wes Davis, whoever that is, Wade Davis, he's like, oh, by the way, this is possibly, some of this could be really happening, which is creepy and scary. Just to think it's fake, like it's a horror movie, but it's fake, you're like, but it's fake. But if you think it's based on something real, that makes it creepy, doesn't it, right? Yeah. Just like that the witch movie, whatever, where like you didn't know if it was fake or real, The Witch in the Woods or something like that. where those kids go after this witch and they find these like remnants of this witch and they don't know if there's really a witch there or not. And it's creepy. It's sort of like that. It's the only thing, like when you watch a horror movie, it's the only thing saving you from really getting creeped out by this thing. Oh, it's just made up. It's just a movie, right? But then if it said based on something, a story told by someone who apparently is telling a real story, then that makes it creepy, okay? And filmed on location in Haiti, it's a frightening excursion into black magic and the supernatural, and that's what that is. It's a creepy, scary, it's an incursion, it's a frightening excursion into black magic and the supernatural, but it's not gonna like boo scare you, like spooky scare you, but the subject matter is, because it's creepy subject matter, like the priests like using a powder to turn people into zombies and then make them do the priest's will. That's creepy. The whole idea of it is creepy. The whole voodoo thing where they, a voodoo priest or voodoo practitioner could curse someone, that's creepy. The whole voodoo like community and their secretiveness, the whole which I mean that's fine. I don't know anything about that, right? But it's creepy because the guy's not part of it and he sees it from the outside, and it's just creepy because they curse people, and it was just a lot of negative black magic, and so that's creepy, and the whole and they show you like voodoo rituals inside the movie where people are dancing and they're sacrificing chickens, and it's weird, and it's just a lot of it's got I'm gonna say, even though it's a great movie and really well done and it's definitely worth watching, it's also it deals with creepy, disturbing subject matter, and because it says that there's some kind of truth to the story, whether that's believable or not, I personally don't believe that the story is based on anything true, but it could have been based on some story that someone did tell, which just based on someone's story, you can't really tell if that was true or not. But it might be sort of like an illustration of the actual practices that certain voodoo priests might do in order to create and make black magic or evil magic. It might have something to do with certain spells and rituals that are real spells and rituals. Whether they really work or not is like, you're not gonna know unless you're a voodoo priest and then you try it out yourself, But what's interesting about it is how much of it is actually being practiced and how much of it is just made up and it's not being practiced. And that's interesting because apparently, according to the back of this thing, which I didn't know until I read the back of it, and now that makes it even super creepy, this is based on the true life experience of Wade Davis. Now, the true life experience, what that means is this guy told a story of his experience in Haiti with the voodoo community and the voodoo priest. Now, thing is, not everyone practicing, as far as I know, not everyone practicing voodoo is doing it in a negative way to have evil magic or curse people. I have heard that people have used voodoo to do positive things for people and, to enhance people's lives rather than this kind of whole negative. But it's basically showing you the side of negative magic, of evil priests who are using their status and the fact that people around them believe that they're an evil priest to scare people, to sort of like impart fear in the hearts of the people around them, and make people do what they want, because people are afraid of them. They're afraid they're going to turn him into a zombie, or they're afraid they're going to curse him, or do something, cast a negative spell, or take their soul or whatever. And that's what they're doing inside the movie. So you don't know how much of this is real, you don't know how much of it is fake. It's just crazy voodoo priests taking people's souls and putting them in jars and turning people into zombies, and it makes a good movie. It makes a good movie, and the fact that it's supposed to be a true story makes it even a creepier movie. But it's well done. And Wes Craven, he might do horror, but he does horror like really well. So yeah. So let me know what you guys think of this movie. I know it's creepy. It is creepy, but let me know what you guys think. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Yeah, let me know what you guys think, and like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in another video. Later.